At my sister's baby shower, Heather clinked her glass. To the people who always support, even if they're not cut out to be real parents themselves, my mom snorted. Her friends laughed. I raised my water and said, to support into the lease that I just broke. Her smile dropped. The room fell silent. I took a sip and said, you think I'd be used to it by now. The way she makes a scene without even raising her voice. My sister has always had a flair for subtle digs that somehow still manage to slice clean through you. But even I didn't see that toast coming. The baby shower was at some overpriced event space downtown, the kind with fake ivy walls and LED lights that turn everything into a photo op. She rented the place, obviously didn't pay for it. I'm guessing our parents chipped in. I had my son with me, which was already one strike against me in her book. He was wearing basketball shorts and a Minecraft t-shirt, which apparently wasn't photo-friendly. I saw her give him that look when we walked in. I kept to the back, letting my son play games on my phone while I tried to avoid getting pulled into small talk with women I've never met, but who somehow knew everything about my sister's pregnancy journey. They all had matching gift bags and manicured nails. My gift was practical, a box of diapers, size 2, and a Target gift card. Nothing flashy, but something she'd actually use. I noticed she didn't bother opening it during the presentation part. Everything was fake smiles and squealing until she got up to give her thank you speech. She stood in front of the giant balloon arch, holding a glass of sparkling cider. Her husband stood behind her, doing that awkward, supportive smile he always has when he's not sure what she's about to say. Then came the clink. To the people who always support, she said, even if they're not cut out to be real parents themselves. I felt it before I heard it. The pause, the shift, the way my mom snorted broke the silence like she just heard the cleverest joke in the world. A few of her friends laughed. That light, polite kind of laughter people use when they don't want to be rude, but also want to belong. I looked at my mom, who didn't even blink. My dad just kept chewing whatever pastry he'd been working on. My sister smiled sweetly and took a sip. That's when I knew it was aimed at me. Not a doubt in my mind. I stood there for a second, thinking I'd let it slide. Be the bigger person like always. But my son looked up at me, and I just snapped. Quietly, completely, I snapped. I raised my water bottle. To support, I said. And to the lease that I just broke. Her smile disappeared, like someone had flipped a switch. The room went silent. Her husband's hand actually dropped from her back. My mom blinked twice and looked at me like I just screamed fire. My dad stopped chewing. I took a slow sip and nodded. Yeah, guess you'll need a new sponsor. I turned to my son and told him to grab his stuff. Nobody moved. You could have heard a pin drop in that room. Someone coughed, but no one spoke. I heard my name. My mom, obviously, trying to do her usual patch job, but I was already walking toward the door. We left. No goodbyes, no explanations. In the car, my son asked if she was mad. I told him she'd be fine. Then he asked if I was mad. I said, no, I just decided not to keep giving money to people who mock me in front of a room full of guests. What no one at that party knew, what she never expected, was that I had already planned to stop covering their rent. The timing just worked out perfectly. 4 months, $1,500 a month, $6,000 in total. I paid it without complaining. Even when I had to cut back on a weekend trip I promised my son. Even when I saw her post pictures of new nursery furniture and matching outfits for her toddler. And that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was knowing that no one, not my parents, not her husband, not a single soul, ever said thank you. No one asked if I could afford it. No one asked if I needed help with my own bills. I was just expected to pick up the slack like I always do, because I'm the one who doesn't have a family to support, as if my 10-year-old son doesn't count. As if being a single dad isn't real parenting because I don't have the aesthetic she posts about on Instagram. But sure, I'm not cut out to be a real parent. So yeah, I made it real. I ended it then and there. And when she called the next day with my mother 3-way on the line, the fallout really began. The next morning, I was halfway through making pancakes when my phone buzzed. First, It was a text from my mom. "Can you talk? We need to clear the air before things get worse." I didn't respond. 10 minutes later, the call came through. I knew it was a trap before I answered. My gut told me not to pick up, but I did. Maybe part of me still wanted to believe they'd try to understand. My mom's voice came first, then Heather's. She didn't even wait a beat. "So, you're just going to humiliate me in front of all my friends and then ghost us like nothing happened?" I let the silence stretch until she said my name 3 times. Then I answered. "No more rent. You crossed the line, and I'm done. No more rent. You crossed the line, and I'm done." She launched into one of her signature spirals. "You're overreacting. It was a joke. We were all having fun. You're ruining a happy time." My mom jumped in, trying to reframe the whole thing as a misunderstanding. She even threw in the classic line, "Don't let one comment destroy family." One comment. That one comment didn't just appear out of nowhere. That line came from years of her subtle digs and our parents pretending they didn't hear them. Years of being the afterthought, the backup plan, the support system, and they only remembered when something went wrong. And that comment finally exposed it in public. Now it was my turn to stop pretending. "You called me a fake parent," I said. "You don't get to make that joke and still expect my money. I've done enough." She got quiet for a moment. Then came the next move. The baby. She reminded me that there's a newborn on the way, that her toddler needs stability, that it's cruel to pull the rug out now. I could hear my mom in the background whispering that I was being harsh, that I wasn't thinking clearly, that maybe I could at least help a little longer, just until they find something more permanent. I told them I had already helped more than enough. 4 months. 6,000美元. I said I didn't owe them a fifth. I didn't owe them $1,500 more, or $500, or even $50. Their financial struggles weren't mine to solve. And a baby doesn't erase what she said, especially when she meant it. She started crying, or trying to, and said that I was abandoning her in her most vulnerable moment. But I didn't budge. That's when she got angry. Shifted to accusations, that I only ever did it to feel superior, that I never really cared. I just wanted something to hold over her. My mom tried to cut her off, but it was too late. The truth slipped out, and I laughed. I told her that from now on, if she wants to keep that apartment, she can figure it out with her husband. Maybe he can sell one of the designer diaper bags she bragged about online. Maybe Mom and Dad can finally step in. I said my piece. Then, I hung up. The next day, my dad called. He didn't yell. He just asked if I was really going to leave my sister stranded with a baby on the way. I asked him if he thought I was a real parent. He said nothing. That was all the answer I needed. By the end of that week, I had 3 missed calls from my mom, 2 from my dad, 1 long voicemail from Heather that started normal and ended with her screaming at someone in the background, probably her husband, and a text from an unknown number that just said, "You're really doing this to her?" Wow. So yeah, they were in full damage control mode. I didn't reply to any of it. Not right away. I wanted them to sit with the silence for a while. Normally, I'd cave after a day or 2, feel bad, and send a "let's talk" message. But this time, I didn't. I kept doing what I always do, work, pick up my son from day camp, make dinner, and try to live a normal life. But every night, a new message would pop up, just enough to stir the pot. My mom started light. She sent me a photo of Heather's toddler playing in the apartment with a caption. She doesn't understand what's going on. She just knows she might have to move soon. Then came, "She's crying every night. This stress isn't good for the baby." And then the kicker. "You'll regret this someday." My dad didn't say much, but when he did call, he tried to sound neutral, which is always code for taking her side in a more polite tone. He kept asking if I was absolutely sure I wanted to go through with this. He reminded me that the baby would be here any week now, that uprooting them now was a pretty cold thing to do. I asked him if he thought what she said at the shower was okay. He didn't answer that. Just repeated that things are tense, and it's better not to escalate. Then, out of nowhere, I got a message from one of Heather's friends. "Melissa, who I barely know. She said she thought the whole toast situation was blown out of proportion, but that she hoped we'd find a way back to each other. That's when I knew Heather was shopping it around, painting herself as the victim, leaving out the whole part where I'd covered her rent for 4 months while she shopped for matching nursery furniture and posted Amazon hauls like she was a Kardashian. But then something weird happened. I got a DM on Instagram from one of her other friends, someone I met once at a barbecue. It just said, "Honestly, good for you. She's gotten used to stepping on people and smiling while she does it. Hope you and your kid are doing okay." That one I screenshotted and saved. About a week and a half after the baby shower, my mom called again. This time, she didn't bring Heather into it, just wanted to talk. She said the family was under a lot of pressure and that she was just trying to keep everyone together. I let her talk. Then she said it. "What if you don't pay the full rent? Just $500 a month, just enough so they don't have to leave town. It's not forever." I asked her why I should do even that much. She said, "Because you're in a better position, and because she's your sister." So, I told her this. Being in a better position isn't a life sentence. It doesn't make me their financial plan. And being her brother doesn't mean she gets to insult me in public and still cash my checks in private. I'd done enough. I paid more than I should have. And this whole family needed to stop mistaking my silence for permission. My mom got quiet. Then she just said, "Okay," and hung up. That should have been the end of it. But of course, with Heather, nothing is ever done until she gets the last word. Or, in this case, the last party. Because the next week, I opened Facebook and saw the photos. Streamers, banners, dinner spread, a backyard full of guests, and a big caption that said, "Happy birthday to the best husband and future dad of 2. Everyone was there, except me and my son. I wasn't even looking for it. I was scrolling through Facebook while waiting for my son to finish brushing his teeth. And there it was. A full photo album from the party. Balloons, lights, one of those cheesy rented marquee letter signs that said, "Dad of 2. There were maybe 30 people in her backyard, including our parents, all smiles and red plastic cups. What caught my eye wasn't just that we weren't invited. It was the kid-sized table in the corner. Little chairs, gift bags with cartoon characters. 4 other kids were there. 4? They didn't invite mine. He's 10. He's their nephew. And they didn't even text me to say they were doing something. I just stared at the pictures for a full minute, then closed the app. I didn't tell my son about it. What was I supposed to say? That we got cut from the guest list because I stopped paying someone else's bills? I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. The next morning, I got a Venmo request. 265美元 34美分 Your share for the stroller. 265美元 34美分 Your share for the stroller. I actually laughed out loud. She hadn't spoken to me in almost 2 weeks. Hadn't apologized, hadn't admitted to anything, hadn't even acknowledged what happened at the shower. But here she was, still treating me like her personal savings account. I declined the request. Then I sent one back with a message. "Put this toward your next punchline." That set off the second wave. Less than an hour later, my mom called again. She didn't even pretend to be calm this time. She said I was being spiteful, that I was humiliating my sister, that the party wasn't meant to exclude me. They just didn't want drama. I asked if excluding a 10-year-old kid from a backyard barbecue counted as drama prevention. She didn't have a good answer. Then she switched tactics. Said Heather was hormonal, that people say things they don't mean, that I needed to stop punishing them. But that's not what I was doing. I wasn't punishing anyone. I was just done. My mom didn't get it. Heather sure as hell didn't get it. But I wasn't going to keep being their fallback every time they overspent or underplanned. They thought cutting me out of one party would make me rethink everything. Instead, it just confirmed how far they'd go to manipulate the situation. Later that night, my dad texted me. Just one line. "She says she'll say sorry. Will you help again if she does?" I didn't answer. I didn't even open it until the next day. And when I finally did, I didn't reply because I already knew what would happen next. A half-baked apology, a new promise, another emergency, and then another Venmo request. 3 days after that Venmo request, I got a text that was supposed to be an apology. "I'm sorry if what I said at the baby shower upset you." That was it. Not, "I'm sorry I said it." Not, "I was out of line." Not even, "I didn't mean it." Just that classic non-apology wrapped in soft words to make it sound reasonable. "Sorry if I was upset." Like my reaction was the problem, not what she actually said. I didn't answer. I wasn't surprised. Honestly, I was more surprised she waited this long to say anything. When I didn't reply, she sent another one. "I don't want to fight anymore. Can we just move past it? The baby's almost here, and we have more important things to focus on." So, there it was. The real reason she was reaching out. Not to make peace, but to reset everything. Get me back on board. Get the money flowing again. The usual cycle. Blow things up. Wait a little. Then toss out a shallow sorry and act like nothing happened. This time, though, I didn't take the bait. Instead, I screenshotted the messages and archived the thread. That same day, I got a call from a friend of mine who lives a few blocks away from my parents. He said kind of awkwardly, "Hey, I heard your folks are helping your sister now. Thought you were still covering rent." I told him I stopped. He just said, "Damn," and left it there. Turns out my parents had stepped in. They couldn't afford the full $1,500 a month, so they were splitting it with someone else. Maybe her in-laws, maybe a loan. I don't know. But they were doing it because of course they were. Because when she needs help, they make it happen. When I needed help years ago after my divorce, I got a long talk about bootstraps and budgeting. It was a weird moment. I should have felt relieved. I wasn't being asked to pay anymore. But what I felt was more like clarity. Like I could finally see the roles we'd all been playing in this family for what they were. Then came the birthday. This time, it was her husband's. A backyard event again. Huge turnout. Heather went all out. One of those inflatable movie screens. A food truck, drink station, and some local acoustic band playing in the corner. Someone posted a clip of it on Instagram, and my stomach dropped when I saw it. Not because we weren't invited. I was already expecting that. But because I saw my mom holding Heather's toddler, beaming like she was the proudest grandma on earth. And my dad, the same man who said they couldn't help any of us financially, standing next to the band, laughing with a drink in hand. Every family member was there. Even the cousin who lives 3 hours away. Everyone, except me and my son. No invite. No heads up. Nothing. It wasn't just about money anymore. It was a message. I had stepped out of line, and this was their way of closing ranks. Reminding me that there was a cost to saying no. That the golden child would always have a seat at the table, and if I didn't play along, mine would disappear. What they didn't know was that I'd already bought something that same week. A used dirt bike. My son had been eyeing it for a while. It wasn't cheap, but it was in good condition, and I could finally say yes without worrying about whether his cousin's rent was due. I surprised him with it on a Friday after work. He screamed when he saw it. Didn't stop smiling for an hour. That weekend, while my family played happy around a fire pit, we were at a trail an hour outside the city, riding until the sun went down. I didn't need their party. I had peace and a kid who looked at me like I was the coolest person in the world. For once, that was enough. 2 weeks after the birthday party, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a photo. One of those group shots from the party, printed like it came from a photo booth. Everyone was smiling. My parents, Heather and her husband, the toddler in her arms. Someone had written on the back in Sharpie, "You didn't have to make it this way." That was it. No signature. No explanation. Just a message that sounded more like a threat than anything else. I sat with it for a minute, then dropped it straight into the trash. Didn't even tear it up. Just let it fall. A few days later, I got another message. This time from my dad. Not a phone call. Just a text. "We're stretched thin. If you could do even $250 a month for a little while, it would make a difference. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't get angry. I didn't feel sad. What I felt more than anything else was done. Fully. Finally done. So, I called him. He picked up on the second ring. I told him calmly that I'm not sending a cent. Not now, not later, not even if they lose the apartment, not even if the baby arrives tomorrow. I told him this isn't about a grudge. It's about self-respect. That I had done my part, and it wasn't my job to keep propping up people who treat me like an afterthought. He said I was being cold. I told him that, for once, I was being clear. We haven't spoken since. The calls have stopped. The guilt messages, the third-party nudges, the fake apologies, all gone. Like they finally realized I wasn't coming back. Not as the wallet, not as the punching bag, not as the silent one in the corner. And the funniest part? A week ago, I found out Heather's husband had to pick up a second job. They're still in the apartment for now, but the tone on her social media has changed. Less curated, less smug. The big energy is gone. They're quiet. Meanwhile, I took my son to a baseball game. Got him a new backpack for school. Bought us tickets to a fall camping trip we've been talking about for years. I'm not spending $1,500 a month. Not even close. But I could. That's the difference. I could. And what I do spend, it goes to someone who actually appreciates it. No parties. No fake toasts. No digs dressed as jokes. Just peace. And the dirt bike rides. And the quiet. I don't think they'll ever understand why I stopped. And honestly, I don't care if they do. Some people say family is forever. But I've learned it's only worth holding on to if it doesn't bury you. And I'm finally above ground. 6 months passed. Not a word from Heather. Not a call from my parents. I thought we'd reached the unspoken agreement. We'd go on pretending the other didn't exist, and the peace would hold as long as no one broke the silence. I was okay with that. My son and I had our rhythm now. Weekends on the trail, game nights, bike upgrades. I even started setting aside a little each month into a just because fund, something I'd never been able to do when I was playing landlord for people who thought birthdays needed catering and strollers had to be imported. Then came the knock. It was a Tuesday night, cold out. I opened the door, and there she was, Heather, alone. No husband, no kids, just standing there with her arms crossed, a hoodie pulled over her head like she was trying not to be recognized. I didn't say anything, just stepped back and let her walk in. She looked around like she'd never seen the place before, even though she'd been here plenty of times back when things were good, or at least quiet. She sat down on the edge of the couch and said, I left him. I didn't say anything. I waited. He took out a credit card in my name, racked up a bunch of charges. I found out last month. The baby's barely 3 months old, and he's working nights and coming home drunk. I've been staying with Mom and Dad for a few weeks, but it's not working. I didn't ask what she wanted. I already knew. She looked up. I just need a place for a few nights, just until I find something. There it was. The moment, 6 months ago, I might have folded. Out of guilt. Out of that reflex to help, no matter how deep the knife went. But now, I told her no. Not angrily. Not cruelly. Just no. She looked stunned, like the idea of me saying it hadn't even entered her mind. You're really going to turn me away after everything? I nodded. Then I asked her, not to be petty, not to twist the knife, but because I needed to hear her say it. Do you remember what you said at your baby shower? She looked away. You said some people just aren't cut out to be real parents. You meant me. I didn't mean it like that. I know. I paused. You meant it worse. She got up, muttered something I didn't catch, and walked out. I haven't heard from her since. But the next day, I got a text from my mom. Just one line. She told us you slammed the door in her face. How could you? I didn't answer, because I didn't slam anything. I opened the door, and I finally chose not to lose myself in someone else's mess. That's the part they'll never understand. I didn't stop being family. I just stopped being the fool.